Welcome to CIO in Focus. I'm Georgina Swan, editor of CIO, and today we're talking to Greg Stone, who's the Chief Technology Officer with Microsoft. So how mature do you think cloud deployments are in Australia?
Well, that depends on how you define cloud and its potential. Microsoft sees cloud much more as a platform play that extends from the enterprise through to devices, linking people, processes and devices together. In that context, we see cloud as being at its very, very earliest stages in Australia. And
what was the most interesting point to come out of the roundtable discussion?
Well, for me, the most interesting thing was the positivity of the attendees around the value that cloud could add to their businesses, notwithstanding the data sovereignty and other issues that need to be addressed.
And how does platform as a service fit into organisational cloud strategies?
Well, if you think about it, the history of IT has grown up around platforms, many of which exist today, such as the mainframe, client-server, mobile. And the value of cloud will be in linking these together and extending them. In addition to that, we've talked to many CIOs who are now looking at cloud as a safe, progressive way to extend their current platforms up into the cloud and link them to add value to their organisation.
CIO and Microsoft recently held a roundtable discussion with IT thought leaders about some of the issues involved in the cloud. Here's what they had to say.
So we're a fair way down the track, Georgina, on implementing Cisco's WebEx, Microsoft's Azure Platform as a Service, and also looking at Amazon's EC2 Infrastructure as a Service. We had quite an interesting experience when we first deployed Microsoft Azure. We identified a candidate application that already had a very strong ROI, and we were able to, create some scope for doing some innovation around how we deploy that application. This meant that we had some scope to do some innovation in the way that we were deploying the application. Initially, we were quite cautious in the way we went about deploying Azure. We embedded a design requirement which basically said that we had to be able to easily transfer the application from the Microsoft Azure platform back onto our own infrastructure should we decide that Azure wasn't working for us. This approach had several drawbacks in that we weren't able to successfully leverage all of the Azure features, but it did actually give the business a certain level of comfort when we were deploying the application. Finally, something that all senior executives should be considering when looking at cloud-based initiatives is the mapping of the cost model of the cloud-based service to the revenue creation model. Establishing a clear link between these two models allows stakeholders to understand how value is being created by the cloud initiative and also allows for a much more successful deployment of cloud.
We're pretty early into our explorations into the cloud. We've been running our CRM as a software as a service for some years now, but we're starting to apply a cloud lens to other operations and, looking at opportunities to do high-capacity computing in the cloud and also looking at more flexible options for storage and other aspects of our infrastructure. So we're still very early in our exploration, but we're definitely putting a big focus on that this year.
The Anglican Church in the Diocese of Sydney is doing a number of things as far as the cloud is concerned. One of them is that we're looking at, from a parish perspective, of taking the burden off the centralised infrastructure by saying to parishes or offering parishes applications that are sitting in the cloud. And we're having two types of cloud. We have two types of cloud. One is a private cloud, and one, of course, is the general public cloud. In the general public cloud, we're looking at the applications such as Google Apps and Microsoft products and services that are in the cloud that parishes can use to operate their businesses. On the private side, we're looking at the specifically built applications like parish activity managers and so on, plan giving systems, services and so on that actually sit on our private in our infrastructure, but are actually accessed via the net. We are also toying with other US-based systems, and another much larger parish management system, which we have a few pilots going around the diocese, which are run through the cloud. But at the moment, that's the main areas that we're looking at.
So the CIO Roundtable Luncheon was a great opportunity to interact with other CIOs and get a holistic view of what they're actually doing in the cloud, what the appetite for risk is at the moment, and also what concerns were front of mind. Some of the key takeaways for myself were the conservative nature of the attendees, in that they had only really explored some of the infrastructure as a service platforms and had put non-core business applications up there. We also saw a fairly large trend that the CIOs had put HR applications up in the cloud as well, which was quite an interesting piece. There was also, as to be expected, significant airtime given to some of the usual cloud concerns, such as data sovereignty, transporter data flows, as well as some time also shared on commercials and economics and also vendor lock-in.
I think the roundtable event was fabulous to hear what the concerns of the other CIOs are. There's a lot of things that, because we're early in our exploration, we haven't considered yet, and so some of the things to do with categorising data types so that you can see what's appropriate for the cloud was some very good ideas, very good takeaways, and certainly, you know, having your peers in the room to discuss some of the more complicated issues around the cloud was, you know, very beneficial for us.
What I took out mostly out of that was the fact that there was a lot of dichotomies of ideas around the table, but also there was a number of differing directions and ideas that was coming through, and those differing directions related to security, related to what actually a business can focus on. One business's view of the cloud is different from others, and so on. So there's no one right or wrong way of approaching the cloud, which is very interesting for me, because we have our own view of how we should handle the cloud or use the cloud.
In my experience, it's basically been that the CIOs have typically been trawling through their existing application portfolios, trying to identify candidate applications which to migrate to the cloud. Whilst I absolutely think there is benefit and merit in migrating some of the no-brainers like web hosting up onto the cloud, I think you're going to see, or we're going to see, the true power of the cloud unlocked as CIOs start to shift their thinking away from migration towards really leveraging some of the new capabilities that can be delivered with cloud-based resources, and also start to think about how they can help their organisations innovate further.
I think it's very important that you bring the rest of your team on board. This is a bit of a shift from a technology focus to a business focus enabled through technology, and it's something that I'm definitely keen to work on with my team to get them to start to think about some of these technology issues from a business perspective rather than, you know, what's best in a technology realm.
Well, I do, and it's us from our point of view. You've got to take your users with you. You've got to get to your users and make them understand that there is a service out there. Do not go there and say, I want it, or two parts to it. One is that the board and your CEO or your CFO is pushing you to cut costs. Now, you've got to put that aside. Yes, not a problem. But don't react by saying, I can do this by throwing all our infrastructure, all our services, everything onto the cloud. You've got to take a deep breath and step back and say, can we do this? Is it really in the best interest of the organisation from a number of different perspectives to actually do this? Is there a hybrid model we can go down? But take your users with you, because some of them will be shocked when they learn that your information, their critical customer or other information sitting on the cloud, sitting somewhere in the States, and they thought they were sitting in the back office, back room. You've got to take them with you. Because I don't actually think that the cost savings are that great as opposed to the potential impact to your business moving forward. That's what I think.
Some really interesting insights came out of the roundtable, so thank you very much to everyone who participated and to our sponsors. I'm Georgina Swan for CIO.